What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word? Hummingbird. Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After, Season 7, Episode 15, Battlefield. So let's start off with Usman and Kim. So Kim and her son Jamal have arrived in Nigeria, and Kim's whole point is to hopefully have Jamal see what a wonderful, great guy Usman is, so that he can approve of his mother being with this man. And also, she wants her son and her future husband to have a friendship, to get along. She doesn't want to be stuck in the middle between the two men in her lives, the two most important men in her lives. And so she's bringing her son Jamal to Nigeria to meet Usman, so that hopefully by the time Jamal leaves, he'll have a very good, positive impression of Usman. I don't see how that's possible. If Jamal has any brain cells connected, I don't see how he can leave Nigeria with a positive outlook on his mother's relationship with Usman. So they get to Nigeria, and when they're in the hotel room and they're having dinner or lunch or whatever meal it was, Usman tells Jamal right away, it looks like, I feel like you don't like me. And if I wasn't a good person, your mother would not have been with me for an entire year. The length of time that Kim has been with Usman matters not, because people have been in horrible, toxic relationships for much longer than a year. So just because Kim has stayed with Usman for a year does not mean that Usman is a great guy. It could mean a plethora of things. One of them being that she's probably just so desperate to have this man in her life that she's willing to put up with any crap. And she may be willing to put up with crap that her son Jamal would not even approve of. So Usman, your argument of trying to convince Jamal that everything is copacetic because Kim has been with you for a year, that's a weak argument. Come back with something a little bit stronger than that. And so then Usman tells Jamal to close his eyes, and then he puts a blindfold on him, and he had bought a gift for Jamal. He wanted to surprise Jamal with a gift. And so when Jamal takes off the blindfold, there is a allegedly brand new PS5 on the table. And Jamal was so stoked. He was so happy. So the question is this the same PS5 that Kim had gifted to Usman? Because now I don't remember, because I really thought that in order for Usman to prove that he was not using Kim, the last time that she would, not the last time in this season, but in last season, when she had gone to Nigeria, when they went to Zanzibar, I thought that Usman had returned the MacBook Pro and the PS5. I thought he returned those gifts back to Kim because he didn't want it to look like he was just using Kim. I forgot how that went. But let's assume that this is a brand new gift, that Usman did not re-gift the PS5 to Jamal, and he kept his own PS5. It's still not a good look, simply because number one, it looks like Usman is trying to buy Jamal's approval. That's what it looks like. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. He's trying to buy Jamal's approval. But I think Jamal is a very intelligent young man, and he sees through the BS. He's going to take that PS5, but it's not going to sway him one way or the other. You know, he is still going to stand firm in whatever he thinks is right or wrong when it comes to his mother. And another thing, for some reason, y'all, I don't believe that Usman bought that PS5 with his own money. Usman may make a whole bunch of money from his music and whatever else, but I don't believe he bought that with his own money. I think Kim bought that. If this is not the regifted PS5, I think Kim bought that PS5 with her own money, and of course made it seem like, they wanted Jamal to believe that Usman bought it for him. They're trying really hard to persuade Jamal, but Jamal, you gotta wake up pretty damn early in the morning to try to fool our boy Jamal. So the next day, Usman wants to introduce Jamal to two of his friends, GB and Giant. So they go over to wherever the hell they went to go meet up with GB and Giant, and whatever, they'll have a nice time playing some kind of a bow and arrow type of game. And when they all sit down to talk, Jamal asked the two friends, "So what do y'all think about my mom and Usman's relationship?" And the friend says to Jamal, "We don't have a problem with Kim. She's a very nice person, but Usman has to have children. He has to have a child at least." And so that's when they bring up the whole topic of Usman adopting his brother's nephew. But before we get into that too deeply, let's talk about this. Excuse me. In Jamal's confession, no, sorry, not in Jamal's, in one of the friends' confessions, I don't know if it was GB or Giant, in one of their confessionals, they said that Usman has sacrificed so much for Kim. He has given up his right, his birthright to have a second wife, to please Kim. He's completely given that up. So because he has given up his right that's been given to him by God to have a second wife, Kim should be just bending over backwards with excitement in adopting this child that Usman wants to adopt, because she never wanted him to have a second wife. So he let that notion go. So it shouldn't be too much to ask of her to raise this little boy with Usman. Because Jamal had asked, they were talking about the little boy and Usman adopting him. And Jamal was asking, is this normal? Does this happen all the time? And the friends were like, oh, yeah, adoptions are very normal. I don't think Jamal was asking if adoptions were normal in Nigeria. And I don't think Jamal was asking if it was normal to adopt a relative's child. I think Jamal was asking, is it normal and this, like what Usman is trying to do, like, I'm going to give up having my own children. I'm going to adopt my nephew in order to please my family because they're so gung ho about me having a child. So I'm going to do this for the purpose of pleasing my family. I think that's what Jamal was asking. Is it normal for people to do this, to bypass taking on another wife because the woman that they really want to marry is unable to have children, and then to just adopt a child, and then the family is copacetic with that? I think that's what Jamal was aiming towards. He wasn't asking, do y'all adopt in Nigeria? People adopt children all over the world. Why wouldn't they adopt in Nigeria? But I think he didn't really express himself very clearly to the point where the friends understood exactly what he was asking. So then they talk about, I think they wanted to talk more about, the whole adoption thing. And Usman was like, you know what, let's wait until I bring this up to my brother when my brother arrives. And so everybody's like, what do you mean until you bring it up to your brother? So Jamal and Kim said, doesn't your brother already know? Because we're supposed to be meeting with your brother. I don't know what day, but we're supposed to be meeting with your brother and his wife. And we thought that the meeting was for the sole purpose of us having a discussion about the adoption. And Usman said, well, there was no need for me to bring it up to them before they show up. I'm going to bring it up to them when they arrive. And so this completely blindsided both Kim and her son Jamal, because they thought that this was already in the works, that the brother had already given his consent for Usman to adopt his son, his little baby 3-year-old son, that the brother had already given consent for this child to be adopted by Usman and Kim, and that the brother was completely aware that the end goal was for this child to go to America, and Kim and Usman would raise this child as their own. And so now Usman is dropping a bomb on them and saying that, no, my brother has no idea that that's what we're planning to do, but don't worry about it. I'm going to bring it up at our meeting. So it seems like to me that I don't know exactly what Usman is trying to do, because why don't you just marry Kim? You've already given up this whole idea of having a second wife for the purpose of having a child. You've given up that idea. So why not just marry Kim and not worry about having children? I don't understand that. Why not just marry her and then don't worry about having kids? Then, because the mother gave her blessing. The mother does want him to have children, but Kim is unable to have children. I don't know if he brought up the idea of adopting his nephew to his mother. I don't know. But it seems like Usman is using this little boy just as a ploy to get what he wants, which is I don't to get the blessing from the family and to keep the family satisfied that he's going to have his own child, and at the same time, he's going to marry Kim. He's not going to have to take on a second wife. So it seems like he's just using this child for that. I'm beginning to wonder if what's going on with Usman is similar to what's going on with Sumit. These people are so concerned about keeping their families happy. And with Sumit, my assumption is that he wants to keep his family happy and he wants to be back in the good graces of his parents because of possibly losing his inheritance. And I'm wondering if it's the same thing with Usman, because I don't think Usman's father is still living. I don't think so. So I don't know if his father comes from money or his family has money, because when I look at Usman and his family and I look at the houses that they live in and the way they're dressed and how they move about, it kind of seems like that family has money. And I'm wondering if that's what Usman is concerned about. Maybe there is property or maybe there is money involved. And that's why it is so important for him to make his mother happy, to keep his mother satisfied. That's why he's doing this whole convoluted thing about adopting his brother's child so he can still have a child, and his mom will be satisfied with that. I mean, I'm just really wondering if that's what's going on, because that's the only thing that's making sense to me right now. Because otherwise, why not just marry Kim and not worry about getting a second wife and having children with another woman? I mean, you're going to the extent of adopting a little boy that you want us to believe that you are just so close with, that you and this 3-year-old boy are like best buds. This boy looks up to you like a second father, when I'm pretty sure this boy doesn't even know who the hell you are. You know what I mean? So anyways, I'm getting worked up. Let me calm down. Let me calm the hell down. This show does this to me. Let me calm down. And let's just leave it at that. So we shall see what happens in the next episode. Now, when they gave us the preview of the next episode, I don't like talking about previews because they're so deceptive. They make you think that one thing's going to happen, then when you watch the show, the complete opposite happened. It seemed like the brother had no idea that Usman wanted to adopt his baby. That's what it seemed like. And that little boy was so adorable. I want to adopt him. He was so cute. It seems like the brother had no idea and was shocked, but who knows what that response was for. Who knows? Let's move on to other things. Moving on to Jovi and Yara. So Jovi and Yara are taking a walk. Jovi brings up, first of all, let's start here. Yara was trying to have a conversation, trying to, have some small talk with Jovi. She was, observing the beautiful mountains and talking about how beautiful the scenery is. And Jovi's just like, not conversating at all. So Yara's like, Jovi, what's wrong with you? Girl, what do you mean what's wrong with you? You just told him that you don't want to go back to the United States and you want to stay in Europe with his daughter. Like, what the hell are you talking about? What's wrong with you? So anyway, so they have a conversation about how, Yara doesn't want to go back to the United States and she wants to stay in Europe a little bit longer. And her whole thing is she wants to help out her friends and family, from her home country. And also, what is the point of her going back to Louisiana if Jovi's going to be gone for like a month or two at work? What's the point? She can be in Europe around her own family, around her own people, while Jovi's at work. And then when he gets off work, when he comes back home, he'll come, I don't know, pick her up in Europe, and then they go back to Louisiana, or they both meet up in Louisiana when he returns home from working. I have no idea. So so he's like, I'm bothered by that bothers me. And so then Yara gets a little bit upset, and let me make sure that I'm saying this in the correct. Yara gets upset and tells him how much she has sacrificed for him, leaving her home country, leaving her family, leaving everything that she's ever known to be with him in the United States, to live in a state or in an area that she doesn't like. She's not happy in Louisiana. She's always by herself with her baby while he goes off to work and there's nobody there and blah, blah, blah. And so, he suggests to her at that point, well, why don't we have another baby, to kind of keep you busy? Let's have another baby. And Jovi says in his confessional that maybe having another child can strengthen their relationship. Where the hell has Jovi been all his life? Has he never heard, he's never heard of people saying a child is not going to save a marriage? He's never heard of this at all. I mean, anyways, I guess, that's not the conversation that takes place in strip clubs. So maybe he's never heard of that. But children are not going to save a relationship at all. I mean, it might save Kim's relationship, but children are not going to save a relationship. If you are having marital strife, the last thing you want to do is to add the stress of a brand new baby. So Yara, of course, is like, hell no, I don't want to have another child. Now, what kind of got me upset about Yara is when she said that, let me get this exactly straight. She said that Yara says that this is her time now to be completely independent, and she sacrificed a whole lot, so this is her time to concentrate on herself and the things that she wants to do. And she loves her child to death. She loves Mila to death, but this is just her time now. And she's talking as if she's been raising children for the past 20 years. I mean, Mila is not even, I don't even think Mila is 2 years old yet, quite. And she's talking about like she's given her whole life away to raising children. Yara, what are you talking about? This is a brand new baby that you're taking care of. And for a good chunk of that baby's life, Jovi's mom was around helping you raise that child. Anyways, let's move on. So she's telling Jovi, no, I don't want to have another child, not for at least another 4 years. Later on, she's with her friend Karina. They go to I think it was like a hot spring or something. And I think Karina asked her, so where's Jovi? And she says he's probably drinking with his friend. And sure enough, the next scene, Jovi's drinking with his friend. And she tells her friend Karina that, Jovi had asked her to have another child and she had said no to that. And her friend asked her, so what exactly is your plan? Is your plan to live in Europe like consistently, or are you going to be going back and forth? What exactly do you want to do? And Yara said that her plan is to split her time between the United States and Europe. 6 months in the US, 6 months in Europe. But if Jovi keeps on pressuring her to go back home and to stay home, she says that she may want to stay in Europe even longer. And that's where we end with Jovi and Yara. I don't know what to say about Jovi and Yara. I mean, I don't see really, it's hard. Look, on the one hand, it is hard for Yara because her husband is gone a lot and she wanted to move in the middle of nowhere. She wanted to leave New Orleans and go live on the outside of New Orleans. Why anybody would want to do that is beyond me. Oh yeah, she said that New Orleans was too dangerous. So she didn't want to live inside of the city of New Orleans. And so she's out in the middle of nowhere, far away from anything and everything. I can understand it could be hard for her, but then at the same time, Yara, why did you want to come to America? If Europe is where it's at and where your heart belongs, why did you even want to come to America? Moving on to Bilal and Shaida. So they take a helicopter tour of New York City. I guess it was supposed to be extremely romantic. This is something that Shaida had wanted to do for a very long time, and she truly did enjoy herself. So after the helicopter ride, while they're waiting for their Uber to show up, this is the time that she decides to talk about this whole baby thing. And I guess this is when she's got the courage really to, speak her mind, because sometimes when there's something very difficult that you need to talk about with someone, you'll put it off. Like all of a sudden, something motivates you to say what you got to say, and you don't care if it's the right place or not, or the right time or not. It's like, oh, now I have the courage. I have the guts to speak out with what I want to say. I'm going to say it. And I think that's what happened to her. So she basically told Bilal, we need to have definite plans about this baby situation, because every time I bring it up, you try to avoid the subject. And he's like, how am I trying to avoid the subject when I've been talking about it with you? And not only have we been talking about it, but it's even in writing. And she's like, okay, fine, but you're not giving me definite plans of when we can start to conceive our child. I need to know what the plan is. I need a time frame. And so he tries to get real smart. And he's like, oh, so do you want me to say, okay, we're going to start trying to have a baby on December the 15th at 3 p.m.? What do you want me to say? And so she says, look, if you cannot give me anything definite to work with, then I don't know if this is going to work. And so he's like, are you giving me an ultimatum? Are you like threatening to leave me? And then he tells her, I do everything for you and you're never appreciative of what I do for you. And this is the whole gaslighting thing where he's making her feel like she's in the wrong and he's in the right, even though he promised her that they would try for a baby. Okay, so when he tells her that, I'm like, but Bilal, what do you mean you do everything for her? She doesn't have her papers yet. I don't think she's got her papers yet. So she's very limited on what she can do for herself independently. So you have to do everything for her. I mean, you don't deserve a gold star because you do everything for her. You have to do everything for her. She can't just get up and get a job and buy her own house and get her own car and do her own thing. You have to do everything for her. So, he doesn't like the fact that she's giving him this ultimatum, and he really doesn't like the fact that she's bringing up this topic when they're supposed to be having this very romantic time together after their helicopter ride. And I'm thinking to myself, Bilal, I mean, this is the pot calling the kettle black, because you have brought up the prenuptial agreement when y'all were in Chicago on the Ferris wheel. Y'all were supposed to be having a romantic moment there, and then you start bringing out these legal documents and shoving them in her face and wanting her to look over them and initial here and initial there when y'all were supposed to be on a romantic Ferris wheel ride. And also, like, they did a horse and buggy thing, and he still wanted to talk about legalities. So you've got some nerve calling her out on when she wants to talk about babies when you ruined more than one romantic moment. So later on, they go for a walk, and Bilal says, I'm just trying to romance her, give her a really good time, but she wants to, ruin the moment. They meet up with Utrice. Utrice has made her appearance. After the greeting, hello, how are you? Bilal says, okay, I'm going to leave y'all ladies to do whatever y'all want to do. I'm going to go take a walk. So Shaida and Utrice are having a conversation, and Shaida tells Utrice that she has put the pressure on Bilal, but Bilal still will not give her a definite answer as far as when they can start trying for a baby. So Utrice tells her, well, you know what? When I had a conversation with him, he told me that if he happened to become pregnant, he would still be happy. He will still be happy about it if you just happen to fall pregnant. And so then she tells Shaida, why don't you conveniently forget to take your birth control pills and just, let the chips fall where they may. And Shaida's like, let me put you up on game, girl. I'm not taking birth control. He's using prophylactics. And so Utrice was shook. I mean, the faces that she made were hilarious. Utrice was definitely shook. And so Utrice was like, oh, that's a whole different level of evil, because he has complete control on this whole baby making process. And he basically lied to me when he said that if you just happen to get pregnant, he'd be okay with it, knowing damn well that he would do everything in his power to keep that from happening. And so Shaida tells her friend that if they don't have a baby in 9 months, which means that they got to start right now, this second. If they don't have a baby in 9 months, or I guess making a real effort in getting pregnant, she says that she is going to there'll be no more Bilal and Shaida. And so Utrice, just to clarify, asked her, so between your marriage and a baby, which would you rather have? And Shaida did not mince her words at all, and she did not stutter when she says, I would rather have a baby. Good for you, Shaida. Look out for your damn self, because nobody else in this world will. So, yeah. What you gonna do about that, Bilal? Moving on to Sumit and Jenny. So, Sumit and Jenny. Sumit And Jenny and Christina's wife, they're going to be meeting up with Sumit's family. And, Sumit is like so nervous. He looks like he's going to throw up. He's so nervous about this meeting. And so the meeting is supposed to take place with Sumit's parents, his brother, his sister-in-law, and also his aunt. So while they're waiting for Sumit's family to show up, lo and behold, who ends up coming to dinner? But it is Sumit's father, his brother, and his sister-in-law. Just those three. The mom and the aunt did not come. So right away, Sumit asks his dad, where's my mother? And the dad says she's so sick and upset about this whole Jenny situation. She ain't coming. So then Jenny's daughter starts off by saying that, well, we're just here because we want the families to come together as one big happy family. And we just really want y'all to understand that my mother is a wonderful person. She really loves your son, Sumit, and she wants nothing but the best for him. And, she will never do anything to harm him. And she accepts y'all as her family as well. And that's basically, what my mother really, really wants. And it was either the brother and the father both were saying the same thing, basically like, look, we don't accept this. In our culture, we just do not accept this. It's not like it is in America. It's very different here in India. The father then goes on to say that they've been getting harassing phone calls from family members, from friends, from people in their neighborhood. They've just been really, they've just been really victimized by all of this harassment because their son is with a woman who is so much older. And the father even points out and says, I think it was in his confessional, I think he says, Jenny is older than Sumit's mother and Sumit is younger than Jenny's daughter. So, check that. Jenny says, if it's too hard for y'all to accept our relationship and our love, we're just going to go to America. And Sumit was not expecting that. He was kind of blindsided by that statement. So he didn't say anything because, Sumit's the kind of person, he does things behind the scenes. He's never upfront with anybody to their face, other than telling his parents, accept Jenny, telling Jenny, accept my parents. That's as far as it's going to go. But Sumit does his best work behind everybody's back, where he goes to his parents' house and he's, in the dark of night, communicating with them, trying to do whatever he wants to do with them. Then he goes to Jenny and then he communicates he likes to back and forth because then he can control information. He can control what type of information each side is receiving. This whole, let's all come together and let's all be very open and transparent with what we want, what we're expecting. Sumit ain't about that. That's why he was so damn quiet at that damn dinner, because that's not how he operates. He likes to be the one to control the information and how it flows and what everybody knows. He wants to control that. So he wants to go to one side, manipulate them, go to Jenny, manipulate her. And that's how he likes to do things. So Sumit was shook. He was speechless when Jenny said, we'll just go to America and we'll see what happens with that. Moving on from there, let's go ahead and talk about Michael and Angela. Not much to say here, not much to see here. Michael and Angela, they're canoodling in bed. No, actually they're not. Michael woke up the next morning. He's upset. He's packing his bag and he's going to go home. And he tells Jenny, I'm really upset about this whole situation between you and Billy. I don't want you to go see this man. Billy's a nice guy. I hope that everything works out with his kidneys, but I don't like it. I don't want you to go. So Angela tries to put up a fight. I'm an independent woman. I do what I want. Don't tell me what to do. But at the end of the day, she caved in and she told Michael, okay, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go, Michael. I'm not going to go, Michael. I'm going to stay right here, Michael. I'm not going. So she's not going to go see Billy. She changed her mind about that because her marriage is more important than seeing Billy. And because it's getting Michael so upset, she wants to keep him happy. And so, yeah. During this time, when they kissed and made up, Michael got a text from one of his friends, the friends that Angela cannot stand and had demanded Michael to no longer communicate with. So she doesn't want to be told what to do, but she always wants to tell him what to do, like she's his mother. So he gets a text from his friend. His friend is inviting both him and Angela for drinks, and he tells Angela this. And so Angela's like, well, for your friend to feel so comfortable texting you and inviting you for drinks, it must mean that you've been communicating with him this whole entire time after I told you not to. But Angela wants to prove that she's a changed woman, that she's no longer the hothead that she used to be, even though just a couple of days before she was tearing apart his car. So she says, you know what, I want to prove to my uncle that I've changed, so I'm going to go ahead and accept this invitation. But we all know that if they look at her wrong, she's going to be flipping tables and throwing chairs and cussing everybody out. Moving on to Ed and Liz. Liz is stressed out because her ex got orders to leave the country, to go live. I think he's in the military. I don't know. So he got orders to go live outside of America. And right now, her ex has full custody of their daughter, and Liz has visitation rights. So this is really bothering Liz. And so I guess she's going to want to fight for custody to keep her daughter in the United States. But in order for her to have a chance of winning her custody case, she has to present to the court that she's in a stable type of situation, that her and Ed are together, either they're married or working towards marriage, but they're together, they're solid, and they don't have this up and down type of relationship. So she basically tells Ed, we need to be more consistent with our relationship. I want to be with you. I'm assuming you want to be with me. So we need to get it together. We need to stop the fighting and the bickering, the back and forth, the breakups to makeups. We have to stop all of that. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't really know Ed and Liz as a couple. I mean, I know Ed, but I really don't know Ed and Liz as a couple like that. But from the little bit that I've seen, it seems like alcohol is a major factor in their crazy, toxic arguments. So stop the drinking and maybe you'll have a chance, because when they're sober, they're fine. But when they get to drinking, it just goes left. So Ed agrees. Yes, you're right. And then she also brings up how she wants to have a fresh start. She says, I want to move out of San Diego. And Ed is like, okay, you know what? That sounds like a plan. I'm down, because they were looking at houses. They were looking at houses, I guess, to set roots. And the house they looked at was 1.29, I think it was 1.29 million. 1 million, whatever, 1.29. And they can't afford it, so forget about that. But they're going to leave San Diego anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So she wants to leave San Diego. She wants to get a fresh start, and Ed is down. He's like, yeah, we should try to see that. Ed says that he doesn't see himself with anyone other than Liz. Liz wants us to believe that she really wants to be with Ed. So it should work out, right? Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry that I had to rush at the very end here, but I don't want the video to be too long. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it so much. On your way out, please do not forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later.